I was having y'all your boy Rico from Street Scores, and that is a great win, man. Of course, I'm gonna break down the whole game position group by position group, starting with quarterback, going to offensive line. I'm gonna even talk about the coaches, Jack Rio, Scott Turner, what they did well, what they didn't do well for each position group and each coach. But bruh, the general theme, bruh, for me on this 4-game win streak, first of all, we just got to clap that up alone. Just that by itself, we got to be happy about that, man. We got to celebrate that. And before I dive into what my theme is, I mean, I joked about it, just like in 2012, RG3's rookie season, went to the bye week 2-6, came out of that bye week motivated and went on an infinite win streak to win the division, make the playoffs, should have went to the Super Bowl, but RG3 getting hurt. We were up 14-0 on the Seahawks, so that sucked. But is this the same thing? Went to the bye week, what, 2-6? 4-game win streak. Are we doing the same thing? Cowboys up next, man, in Landover. Then we got Philly. Then we got Cowboys again in Dallas. Then Philly again, and then Giants, bro. We can definitely make the playoffs. So I have some general themes that I'm gonna go ahead and say them down before the intro, so that you go already have it in the back of your mind while we're talking about each position group, each player, and everything. What everybody did, good and bad. Y'all already know how I organize these videos by now. But one general theme is, first of all, we're all in for Super Bowl. Even me, who wants a franchise quarterback that wants like a Malik Willis or Matt Corral, we're just gonna have to trade up to get him. And honestly, if Ron Rivera really wants him, if Scott Turner really wants him, we'll trade up to get one of them. There's a lot of experimental guys you can get in the second, like a Desmond Ridder, somebody, Sam Howell, maybe in the second or third. I can see that being a thing. Or even Malik Willis, since he had put together some bad couple of games to end the season, maybe he lasts till way later. But either way, like, there's no point in playing for picks. First of all, we've already won enough games. Second of all, like I keep saying, if we really want a franchise quarterback, then they're gonna go get one no matter what, whether it be through free agency, trade for one, trade up, do what you gotta do. And again, with the way this draft is pictured, there's already been a report that most teams feel like no quarterback will even go in the top 10, just like the 2013 draft. Even though I feel like it's way better than the 2013 draft, I feel like that's a very hateful comparison. I feel like that's just overboard. I could definitely see that scenario playing out, so I don't think we have to sell out for quarterback at all. When in doubt, trade up for one. But at the end of the day, I say all that to say we are all in for Super Bowl. I feel like everybody, 100% fans of the Burgundy and Gold, should be all in for Super Bowl. Playing for picks is dead. Even for somebody like me that wants a franchise quarterback, if you're one of those people that wanted to tank, it's literally done. I'm sorry. It's all in for Super Bowl, because there's literally, what pick can we get at this point? Like, I mean, even if we were to lose out, our pick's not going to be that great. So at this point, best case scenario, we go make a playoff push. It would be wonderful if we can go to a Super Bowl, if we can win a Super Bowl. That is the main goal right now. We'll worry about the draft later. I'm still going to talk about draft because, again, I love draft. I don't talk about the draft because, oh, now we're losing. Now let's look at some draft prospects. I talk about the draft because I just genuinely love talking about the draft. I watch high school recruiting. I watch like high school film and see what players go to which colleges. Then I watch them in college to see what teams they may go to and all that type of stuff. I just love player development, recruiting, scouting, all of that. That's just who I am. So I'm always gonna talk draft, no matter, even if we're undefeated, even if we're 13-0, I'm talking about draft. That's just who I am. But yeah, we're all in for Super Bowl. Another theme is we win ugly. A lot of people will be like, you know, they're gonna try to downplay this win streak and be like, y'all are winning ugly games. I see that as actually like a positive, because usually, first of all, before Ron Rivera, we weren't winning Monday night games. We weren't winning Thursday night games. Primetime games were literally just an automatic L for us. Period. A late game turnover, like how Taylor Heineke had that one and the Raiders ended up scoring off of it. Those have killed us previously before the Ron Rivera era. And then also, we normally don't win these clutch games where we got to go down and kick a game-winning field goal, or our defense has to hold up and stop the other team from scoring a touchdown or a field goal. We have usually, like 90% of the time, lost those games. Now we're winning those games consistently, back to back to back. And also, which leads me to my next point, the injuries. We're doing the most with the least. We have to be one of the most hurt teams in the NFL. We're on to our 4th string center. We're on to our backup right tackle. Our starting right and left guard are both injured. You can see Eric Flowers out there limping in between plays. We just lost Logan Thomas again for who knows how long. So we're back to our 3rd and 4th string tight ends and beyond. And we didn't have Logan Thomas that whole game winning drive. So, like, you know, you could say Logan Thomas played today and he did make that touchdown, but in that game winning drive, we didn't have him. That was John Bates, and I guess Samus Reyes was out there, even though I didn't notice him. So, like, you know, we're having to do what we got to do out here. Antonio Gibson is healthy, but you could argue JD McKissic has been our most consistent offensive weapon, the most dependable offensive weapon, and he was out today. And then on defense, we actually missed Landon Collins. Landon Collins not being there showed up several times in that game. Any mistakes made by Jamin Davis, any mistakes made by Khaleke Hudson, anything around the box or like underneath coverage, Landon Collins would have been there. Those missed tackles by Jamin Davis, missed tackles by Kendall Fuller, Landon Collins would have been there to make those plays. And that would have stalled quite a bit of Raiders drives and stopped them from scoring points. They don't score 15 points with Landon Collins on the field easily. I firmly believe that. The way Landon Collins has been playing since we put him at linebacker, I firmly believe the Raiders don't score 15 points if Landon Collins is out there. I mean, it's just injuries everywhere, and we're just making do. We're making do. I mean, our fourth kicker, that's probably the biggest injury right now, because even with our offensive line injuries, they're still going out there and playing like at least a top 10 offensive line. Before the injuries, they were a top 5 offensive line in several statistical categories, advanced statistics, all kinds of stuff, run block win rate, pass block win rate, all of that type of stuff. And with all of the injuries, they're still playing like a top 10 offensive line, even though today they gave up quite a bit of pressure. We're going to talk about that later, but we're on our 4th string kicker. And we trusted him to make a 49-yarder, and he made it. And he made both of his PATs. Just a guy we just brought in off the street. Local guy. Played for Gonzaga High School, I believe, in D.C., played for Virginia Tech as well for college as a kicker. Just local guy. Just, man, we lost Joey Slough. What are we going to do? Let's just bring this guy in. He's a local guy. If anything, he would play his heart out for us because this is the team he grew up loving and watching, and he came through in the clutch. This is probably Brian Johnson's best day of his life, too. This was huge. They're probably giving him a huge celebration in the locker room right now. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and dive into this game, bro. I have to talk about so many things. Again, we're going to have to go position group by position group, but I wanted to give y'all the general themes of how I'm feeling so that while I'm talking about each position group, you can hear those themes, you can remember those themes, think about them, and process those while we're going position group by position group and coach by coach. But man, before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately, and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also, make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. And also, as soon as I'm done editing this and uploading it to y'all, I will start up the post-game live stream to take in calls. So get ready for that. Be on the lookout for that. But without further ado, let's get it. Hey man, guess who's 500? 6-6. The burgundy and gold from 2-6 to 6-6. Man, it was ugly, but hey, we figured it out. We're starting to put things together. Ugly games, but we're figuring out how to win, and that's all that matters at the end. Whether you win by 30, whether you win by 1 point, doesn't matter. A win is a win. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Starting with the offense, of course, we got to start with the quarterback. Taylor Heinicke had a few good throws. This was a weird game because he normally starts off ugly and inaccurate, and then he gets better throughout the game. But today, he started hot. I mean, really hot. Granted, he had a couple of overthrows, including that Logan Thomas touchdown on that first drive. But that first throw that he threw to Terry McLaurin on that first drive, there was a first down, was actually a really accurate throw. And then from there, he regressed and went right into his first half version of himself. And then from there, he just struggled throughout the game for the most part with accuracy. But I mean, when it mattered most, he pulled through at the end of the game. Again, never really accurate. Again, not seeing guys when they're open. But Scott Turner, I think, overall called a good game. Some questionable stuff that he called. We're going to get to that later when I talk about Scott Turner. But, I mean, overall, Taylor Heinicke, I would say out of the 4 games, this was his worst game, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad. It definitely showed you why I feel like he's more of a bridge quarterback. Like, the ideal situation for me is for us to find a franchise quarterback in the draft, whether you trade up, whatever you do, and you start Taylor Heinicke next year until that quarterback is ready. So whether it be Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, whoever, I feel like all of those guys are probably going to have to sit at least for a little while, maybe even an entire season. And I'm comfortable with Taylor Heinicke starting next year if he has to, while we have a quarterback being groomed behind him. I don't want to just go into next year, Taylor Heinicke's our only answer at quarterback, and that's it. I would love for us to at least try to bring in somebody. And I feel like Taylor Heinicke's good enough, and most importantly, he's fun enough. He makes watching the burgundy and gold fun. He makes it so that we can play at 8 p.m. more often, instead of just having a bunch of 1 p.m. games, and then having that one mandatory 8 p.m. game you gotta like have every season. I think it's Thursday night. One of those you gotta have at least one. I believe maybe one Thursday night, one Monday night, whatever. But Heinicke at the end of the day is fun at the very least, and he always gives you a chance to win. As long as our defense plays like how it's been playing, Taylor Heinicke gives you a chance to win no matter really who you play. Because it's not like we're playing scrubs. Not like we just played the Jets or the Lions. We played the Raiders. The Seahawks are worse than they've usually been, but they're still not bad. I think they're up on the 49ers right now last time I checked. I'm recording this right now at 7:32 p.m. Eastern time. Last time I checked, they were up. We beat the Buccaneers. That was definitely a quality win. You can't argue against that. And we beat the Panthers. And we beat them while they were relatively hot. Like, they were coming back. They looked like the first few weeks version of the Panthers when they played us. And we came through and beat them. And again, most importantly, all of these games were making clutch plays late in the game to win these games. But yeah, back to Taylor Heinicke, man. Again, not terrible. Definitely his worst game of the 4. I feel like the first 2 games he played well. I feel like the third game he was more of a game manager, but he played that role well, but it wasn't necessarily a great game overall like the first 2 against the Panthers and the Buccaneers. And then this game was definitely the worst out of the 4, but again, it wasn't terrible. He did enough for us to win. He led us on a game-winning drive with a field goal, so I'm cool with that. Now moving to the offensive line, again, I mean, I've already said most of what I need to say about them in the intro. They're holding it down. With the injuries that we have, this is ridiculous. I don't know how they're doing it. They still got beaten. Taylor Heinicke was getting blasted whenever they blitzed, and Max Crosby was having his way at times. But generally, for the most part, this offensive line held it down, especially again with the injuries that we have. Now, Brandon Sheriff, so far, these past few games, even though we've been winning, he is not looking like, hey, pay me the money I want for a big-time contract. He has not played like it these past few games, which is kind of a good thing for us. We want him to play well so that Taylor Heinicke doesn't get killed out there and we can win games, so we can go to the Super Bowl, hopefully win the Super Bowl, all of that type of stuff, make a deep playoff run, win the division, all of that type of stuff. But I mean, these past few games has definitely brought his market down. It has to have. He has not been looking good. False starts, even missing blocks that he should make out in the open field, allowing safeties and linebackers to get rid of him on blocks and stuff. It's crazy. I'm not even talking about the one where they called the flag on when Jonathan Abram went low on him. I'm talking about I can't remember his name right now, but he literally was in a wrestling match with Brandon Sheriff and got rid of him to go make a play on a screen pass, I believe it was. And somebody did that against Brandon Sheriff last week against the Seahawks. I think it was Bobby Wagner. And so it's just like Brandon Sheriff isn't putting out great quality, at the very least, consistent film right now. But overall, the offensive line is holding it down with what they have. Cornelius Lucas, you know, the occasional bad play, but again, he's technically your backup. Samuel Cosme's supposed to be a starter. Hopefully we get him back at some point during this NFC East gauntlet that we're about to run into. And then, I mean, hopefully Wes Schweitzer gets back healthy. He wasn't even active today, and he's your third string center, your backup guard. Eric Flowers is banged up. Hopefully, you know, he's only getting healthier, but he was limping out there. Hopefully he'll be good to go next week against Dallas, but who knows? And then Charles Leno is just holding it down at left tackle. Hasn't missed an NFL game in over 5 seasons. It might have been 8. Some random. I gotta look it up. It's some crazy fact that he hasn't missed a game in forever. So I mean, thank goodness for him, because otherwise we'd be shuffling everybody right now. Shouts out to the offensive line and John Moscow, offensive line coach, for getting them ready to go out there and produce it the way that they're producing, because our run game is hectic right now. Antonio Gibson is running his tail off, but we ran for 112 yards, and you got to give offensive line most of the credit for that, and Scott Turner as well. And then speaking of Antonio Gibson, running back wise, I mean, Wendell Smallwood made a couple of underneath catches, and Jared Patterson, I don't even know how many times he ran the ball, if three times, you know what I'm saying? So the rest of that was just straight Antonio Gibson doing what he had to do, man. Shouts out to Antonio Gibson. He was 88 of our 112 rushing yards, man. He's already passed 2,000 career rushing yards. I'm super excited for him. I'm super proud of him. Shouts out to Antonio Gibson. You're playing well, man. We miss JD Mkissic, but you're filling in quite nicely and you're running hard. And you're becoming a more patient run blocker, following your blocks and knowing what hole to hit and when to hit it. All of that type of stuff. Really appreciate you, man. Then tight end wise, I mean, Logan Thomas was balling until he got hurt. I mean, he had that one time where he should have caught the pass, but first of all, a better throw by Taylor Heinicke. It would have been an easier catch, but still, at the end of the day, you got to catch those. But he was doing a really good job. I mean, that end zone touchdown catch was so inaccurate from Taylor Heinicke. He had to go up there and bring it down. He had another play like that where it was ball thrown short to the left, and he had to haul it in all kinds of crazy because of an inaccurate pass from Taylor Heinicke there as well. So Logan Thomas is balling, blocking wise, catching wise, and when he got hurt, I was really worried, but they held it down. John Bates held it down. He is growing up right in front of our eyes. Shouts out to John Bates, man. I don't remember Sammis Reyes being in the game, but if he was, I'm assuming he must have done a good job at least blocking, because I didn't hear his name come up, but I'm about to review the film for that. Again, I mean, with these post-game reviews immediately after the game, I always admit I'm about to go back and watch the film on certain things because I didn't see everything. So Sammis Reyes will have to see later what happened, but I don't really know from this game. And then lastly, wide receivers. I mean, Adam Humphries was making play after play at the end of the game. Really appreciate him. De'Ami Brown, I believe it might have been his only catch, but that was a really impactful catch. I mean, he caught a pass. It should have only went for 1 yard. He ended up getting 6 yards, made it 2nd and 4. We ended up getting the first down. And I believe we scored that drive, maybe even a touchdown. That might have been the opening drive. I can't remember. But either way, De'Ami Brown, when he did get the ball, made plays. Curtis Samuel, I love the fact that he's getting the ball so much. Now, granted, a lot of his plays went for negative yards. But first of all, his run right there at the end put us closer to within field goal range to make it a 49-yarder rather than a 54-yarder. Maybe Brian Johnson misses the kick if Curtis Samuel doesn't get those 4 yards right there. He fell 1 yard short of the first down, but we still have to appreciate Curtis Samuel for what he did, and Scott Turner to even have the guts to call that. And again, I like the fact that Curtis Samuel's getting the ball more often. He's on the field more often. I believe he touched the ball at least like 3-4 times tonight, so I was really happy to see that. And then Terry McLaurin, bruh, I mean, this is probably the most I've ever seen him double team and triple team. If you go look at that Antonio Gibson catch for a touchdown, the second touchdown we had, Terry McLaurin was being covered by 3 guys. Then an extra guy came in, and then one of the other guys left. So it went from 3 to a different set of 3, literally just covering him. And that's why Antonio Gibson was open underneath for the touchdown. Terry McLaurin is amazing, man. He makes plays, but most of all, he opens up the offense for everybody else. So even though he's not putting up crazy stats, man, we really appreciate you, Terry McLaurin, because that Antonio Gibson touchdown more than likely does not happen without Terry McLaurin. Logan Thomas isn't that open on the first touchdown without Terry McLaurin as a distraction. So, man, I really appreciate you, Terry McLaurin. I also appreciate Scott Turner for taking advantage of Terry McLaurin grabbing so much of the defense's attention and knowing that and abusing it and getting it to other people. And then moving on to Scott Turner before we move on to the defense. Overall, up and down game from him. I would say overall it was a decent to good game, but there were definitely some questionable play calls. I want him to be more aggressive. Also want him to recognize that the Seahawks are blitzing every 1st and 10, so we need to stop running the ball up the middle in between the tackles on 1st and 10. We should have stopped that way sooner. Eventually he did stop doing it. We started running a quicker passing game, screens or play action or whatever, but he should have recognized that sooner. That, I mean, they're obviously 1st and 10, they're blitzing, and we're just having these -3 rushing yard plays. Now we're 2nd and 13 or worse, and it was just getting bad. Oh wow, the Seahawks just beat the 49ers, so now we are the 6th seed. We're not even the 7th seed. We are the 6th seed, and as of right now, the NFC East have 2 teams in the playoff berth right now. That is crazy. But back to Scott Turner. I also want more play calls where Taylor Heinicke is able to use his legs. Now, I also fault Taylor Heinicke for that because there were some plays where he clearly should have used his legs. Like, just go run, or at the very least using your legs wise in the pocket. Don't just, he has a really bad habit of doing like 3-step drops, 5-step drops, and literally just staying where he is. He doesn't step up in the pocket to make a throw. Hence the interception that he threw where he got his hand hit throwing it to Terry McLaurin. All he had to do was just step up. The defender never would have had a chance to even hit him in the arm. And then Terry McLaurin, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the film, but it kind of looked like he almost was about to get open, and Taylor Heinicke kind of had the right idea to throw it to him, but he wants to stay in the back of the pocket. Offensive linemen, the tackles are literally trying to block the edge rushers around the quarterback, but Taylor Heinicke's not moving up so that they can block him around him. They're blocking him basically into him because he's staying so far back. So Taylor Heinicke, you got to move up, but still at the end of the day, Scott Turner, we need more play action bootlegs. We need just more bootleg. We need quarterback design runs for Taylor Heinicke. He's out here making it work almost every time he runs with the ball. Something at least decent happens. It's rarely something bad. So use his legs more often, Scott Turner, but also Taylor Heinicke, you as well, on passing plays when it's breaking down. Just go run it, bro. Just go take off and pick up some yards so we can stay in front of the chains instead of it being 2nd and long, 3rd and long. Now moving on to the defense, starting with the defensive line. I mean, they did their thing. It wasn't as impressive as a game from them defensive line wise as the Seahawks game, but they still made do what they had to do. I mean, overall defense, when you stop the Raiders and hold them to 15 points, that's big in itself. I mean, if you look at the Raiders schedule, they scored 33 points week 1, 26 points, 31 points, then they scored 14 and 9, then they went and scored 34, 33, then 16, 14, 13, then 33 against Dallas, and then they scored 15 against us. So they're up and down, but I mean, they've put up 22 or more points this season like 5 or 6 times, and they've scored in the 30s a couple of times. And so the fact that we held them to 15 is huge. That's a good job by the defense overall, but defensive line wise, definitely wasn't as explosive and a memorable game as last game, but they did what they had to do. And Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne made plays. Matt Ioannidis finally got a sack. I haven't heard his name in a while, but I'm glad to hear it then. Matt Ioannidis had a run stop against the Seahawks last week. Other than that, I haven't really heard his name, so I was really happy to hear him get a sack today. And then the linebackers, I mean, Cole Holcomb, I mean, how much can you ask from him? One-on-one with Hunter Renfrow, I blame that on Jack Del Rio. He was one-on-one with Hunter Renfrow like an entire drive. I mean, it was bad. And he made some really good plays at some points in this game in coverage. I mean, literally probably saved us the game a couple of times. But like, of course, eventually he was going to get beat. It's their best receiver versus our linebacker. Like, I mean, we need to at least put a slot corner on Hunter Renfrow, somebody other than Cole Holcomb. So eventually they were just going to keep abusing that matchup, and I wasn't surprised that they kept doing it because I would have. So I mean, what can you ask for Cole Holcomb right there? So I'm not going to fault him too much. Overall, he had a good game. Jamin Davis had way more bad plays than good plays, but his good plays were pretty impressive. But I think he's just still learning and getting the nerves out. He still doesn't look like a first round pick at all, but it's whatever. He's learning. Khaleke Hudson was straight, but then he got hurt. And so we're going to have to see how the linebacker group looks moving forward, because even Khaleke Hudson is banged up now. And then the secondary, it was some great plays. It was some terrible plays. Kendall Fuller came from his best game all season, and then this game wasn't necessarily terrible, but he gave up a lot to Hunter Renfrow and just receivers in general. He was getting beat quite a bit. He also missed a couple of tackles, but again, it wasn't terrible. William Jackson III, another game where we never hear his name. That's a good thing. I'm about to look at film to see if there was some plays that were his fault that we didn't notice during the game, but overall, I mean, the fact that we don't hear William Jackson III's name is great. He's locking somebody down. I'm assuming it was Deshaun Jackson, some plays, Zay Jones, other plays, whatever. Bobby McCain, this was one of his best games, like effort wise, like that pass breakup where he literally, the Raiders receiver would have caught it, the one where we challenged it and won the challenge. The Raiders receiver would have caught that, but Bobby McCain literally had the ball and pressed it on the ground. Like, no, this is incomplete. Then he also had some good open field tackles, and overall it seemed like his communication with the rest of the team was straight. So I'm gonna have to go back and look at the film for him as well. Secondary is hard to see what's going on live, but overall it seemed like a pretty decent game from him. DeShazier Everett came in and showed you why he's DeShazier Everett with the biggest hits. He's our hardest hitting safety, probably our hardest hitting player in general on the entire team, and he showed that with that almost forced fumble. But overall, the secondary did their thing. A bend but don't break type of defense, man. We allowed 310 yards, but they only scored 15 points. And we only allowed them to convert 2 of their 8 third downs. Again, when our defense stops other teams on third downs and doesn't allow them to set a record for third down conversions in a game, percentage-wise or whatever, we typically win games. And so the Raiders went 2 of 8 on third down, and that's a huge reason we won this game. Because the only turnover this game was us, Taylor Heinicke's interception. Other than that, literally no turnovers. Our defense was getting off of the field because we were bend but don't break and usually just allowing the field goal, or we were stopping them on third down. Again, 2 for 8. That's very, very noteworthy. Also, shouts out to the defense and the offense for us winning the time of possession battle again. It wasn't as dominant as it's been on other games in our win streak, but we had the ball for 33 minutes, 43 seconds, and they had it for 26 minutes, 17 seconds. We ran 61 total plays. They ran 56, so that's way more even than that Seahawks game where it was the most lump-sided thing I've ever heard of. But this was a very penalty-ridden game as well. We each had 6 penalties called on us. We had 47 penalty yards. They had 54, so technically they were worse than us. But at the end of the day, this was pretty bad penalties-wise. The refs hated on us a couple of times. The refs hated on them a couple of times. It was just about even in a way. It's hard to say that, though, because, I mean, our defensive line is getting held almost every play, and they just rarely call it, no matter who we're playing. But today, we got some calls that we shouldn't have gotten, and the Raiders got some calls they definitely shouldn't have gotten. So this was definitely a more evenly reffed game than we're used to seeing as burgundy and gold fans. And then, before we get up out of here, Jack Del Rio, man. I mean, overall, a decent game plan. Again, my biggest fault with you was what I was talking about with Cole Holcomb. Why was Cole Holcomb on the Raiders' best receiver so much that game? Granted, it was zone coverage, and a lot of the times it was clearly the Raiders sending Hunter Renfrow to Cole Holcomb's zone on purpose. Like, this is the matchup we're going to attack all game, but you still got to adjust to that. I mean, literally like an entire drive of it is unacceptable. But generally, Jack Del Rio has been a big reason why we're on this win streak. The defense is playing way better. And I hate the fact that it started since Chase Young and Montez Sweat has gotten hurt, because now people are really thinking that we're better off with Shaka Toney, James Smith-Williams, and Casey Toohill over Chase Young and Montez Sweat. That's not the case at all. Jack Del Rio has been better as a coach. The secondary has been better, period. And then granted, the discipline style that Shaka Toney, James Smith-Williams, and Casey Toohill play with, where they're not going far behind the quarterback playing hero ball, that has helped. But overall, if we would have Chase Young and Montez Sweat healthy right now, we would be even better. But again, shouts out to Jack Del Rio for this win streak. Your game plan was stressing me out this game, most notably Cole Holcomb and Hunter Renfrow, and then the fact that Hunter Renfrow was just open so much. I mean, he had 9 receptions for 102 yards, and then Deshaun Jackson was even open some plays that Derek Carr didn't see him or didn't get it to him. So like overall, like the defense was iffy, but at the end of the day, bend but don't break, and to hold a team that scored like 30 or more points like 3 or 4 times this season only to 15, that's big. And y'all clutched up and stopped them when you needed to after we kicked the game-winning field goal. They had like 40 something seconds left. So yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Overall, I'm proud of this team. 4-game win streak. I already pretty much gave all of my themes and conclusions in the intro, but man, I'm really proud of this team. Again, we're all in for the Super Bowl at this point. It's literally, playing for picks is literally impossible right now. No matter how bad you want to tank, it's literally over with. We've already won 6 games. You're not getting the top pick with 6 wins. There's a lot of trash teams out here. We might as well go ahead and go to the Super Bowl, win this division. Hopefully we end up with the 32nd pick. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything I said in the video. Also, let me know how you feel about everything that happened in this game that I didn't talk about. I mean, these injuries, man, hopefully they don't come back to bite us. Right now, we've been working through them, but I'm definitely afraid of the future as far as injuries go. Hopefully against this Dallas game, we get a couple of guys back healthy, though. Maybe Wes Schweitzer comes back. Hopefully Logan Thomas's injury isn't that bad. Hopefully we get Montez Sweat back. Hopefully Eric Flowers only gets healthier. Hopefully Curtis Samuel keeps progressing. Hopefully we get J.D. Mkissic back. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully against Dallas, we come back healthier than we were against these Raiders, but we'll see. Hopefully we get Landon Collins back. That's a big one. I can't believe I'm saying it, but like, we've been telling Jack Del Rio to move him to linebacker for a long time now, and then he finally does it, and now suddenly Landon Collins looks like a great player, and now we miss him when he's not on the field. But yeah, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that pulled up to the stream, left a like, donated, man. I really appreciate y'all, man, especially everybody that donates. It's huge, man. Y'all don't understand, bro. And then also shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. Again, I will be doing the post-game live stream after this video is edited and uploaded, so be on the lookout for that. Probably only be for like an hour, maybe a little over that, because I don't want to go for too late. But man, I appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.